Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a move update from this season that has gone almost entirely under the radar, and that is Acid Galarian Slowking. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Drew S. Pogo YT, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, Galarian Slowking previously was stuck with non-same type attack bonus Hex, so getting a poison type Shadow Claw clone in Acid marks a really big improvement for this Pokemon, but the question remains, does it improve enough to become relevant? So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's go Galarian Slowking. Hopping into game number 1, picking up a pretty solid lead, Pangoro into Fortress. Pangoro does have a massive pacing advantage, but these neutral bug bites will inflict some serious damage. Night Slash bait from Pangoro called by the Fortress on charge attack priority. This is only going to be a Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb, not a problem for Pangoro whatsoever. Pangoro now going to go for the kill shot here with the close combat. That does grab a shield, and now out comes Galarian Slowking. Acid obviously going to be resisted, but it does charge up very quickly for the Slowking. Opponent sends out Shadow Dusclops, and oh boy, Shadow Dusclops is going to have to shield, because if they do not, they're getting nuked with a Shadow Ball, and they will put up the shield. Galarian Slowking very close to a second Shadow Ball. The opponent does have the back-to-back Shadow Punches. They're forced to throw an alignment, otherwise they would get outpaced. Slowking will put up the final shield and get to the Shadow Ball, and this is going to be devastating damage. Shadow Ball into the Dusclops. They survive on 1 HP and snipe down with the Fortress, and now in comes Galarian Weezing. Weezing gonna go for the Brutal Swing, wanting to knock out Fortress before they can make it to a super effective Sand Tomb. Brutal Swing lands, but it just does not KO, and the opponent will get their Sand Tomb after all. So now the Weezing is debuffed, able to get that Fairy Wind farm down. In comes Azumarill. Weezing banks a ton of energy, pivots into the Pangoro. This is going to reset the defense debuff on the Weezing and make it so that Weezing will be able to survive the bubbles and an Ice Beam. Weezing already at the back-to-back Sludges. Sludge will inflict big damage onto that Azumarill. Azumarill will get to connect with the Ice Beam, but because the debuff was reset, that's just not enough to KO. And now Weezing will get to fire off the Sludge. Sludge will pick up the knockout. All that's left in the back is the Dusclops. Dusclops faints to the Fairy Wins, and that's going to be a Game 1 win. We move to the next match, picking up a very neutral lead, Pangoro versus Unova Stunfisk. Considering there are 2 poison types in the back, it's very nice to catch the Stunfisk on the lead. Pangoro Night Slashes, fishing for a boost, but unfortunately luck is not with the Panda on this occasion. Mud Bomb will land, that does do pretty significant damage. Opponent gonna try and go for the CMP tie, but Pangoro will shield and look to overfarm quite significantly. The Stunfisk is in close combat range, so Pangoro will now launch the close combat. Will the opponent decide to match shields? They do not, and Stunfisk gets KO'd. In comes Mandibuzz, and this is perfect because Pangoro is gonna get a close combat into that Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz will get the farm down just to get completely shut down by Galarian Weezing. Weezing will get chipped with an Aerial Ace, but this is not a move that threatens Galarian Weezing whatsoever. Aerial Ace is going to land. That is an easy survive for the Weezing, who now gets to return fire with the Sludge. Sludge will not KO the Mandibuzz, but it will get them pretty low. The opponent staying in means that they've got to be pretty weak to Galarian Weezing. Sludge is going to land, picking up the KO, and in the back, we now see why they didn't feel like they could swap, as it's Primeape in the back. Primeape wins charge attack priority over the Weezing, but Rage Fist is just not enough to knock out. This Brutal Swing is going to finally force the first shield of the match, and in comes Slowking. This is now a +1 boosted Rage Fist. Can Slowking hang on? I assume it can. Rage Fist is going to land, and Slowking survives. Slowking just going to look to try and farm up to the back-to-back Surfs, because once that is reached, this game will be over. Slowking gets to the back-to-back Surfs, and that's going to be all she wrote for the Primeape. Surf is going to grab the shield, but Primeape going to be hit with Surf number 2. All shields exhausted, nowhere for Primeape to run. It gets KO'd, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, Pangoro met with a Citadel. Look at the spice from the opponent. These battles are taking place around 2800 elo, so pretty close to leaderboard. So someone running a Citadel at this elo range is incredibly cool. We see Pangoro getting the Night Slash bait called. My goodness, the opponent, what a great call, and they're going to bait back with the Body Slam. Pangoro can now knock out with the Night Slash, but if the opponent wants to connect with an Avalanche, they will commit the shield. That's exactly what they're going to do. Avalanche would inflict massive damage, probably just knocking out the Pangoro. Pangoro is going to double shield and get the full Karate Chop farm down. Pangoro hoping that his energy will be good, but it's going to be an Annihilate hitting the field. Pivoting the Slowking is going to bait out a Shadow Marowak, and that's a pretty nice bait out because now Weezing will be able to sweep this endgame. Surf is going to connect. That's big damage. Opponent over farms. They do not know the Slowking counts. Slowking gets the Surf number 2. They let it through, and there's just no way for the opponent to win the game now. The Surf is reached, but Annihilate able to deny that energy with a Rage Fist, but unfortunately, they just cannot get through the Weezing. There's also a ton of energy loaded on the Pangoro as well. Weezing will fire off the Brutal Swing. That gets no shielded by the opponent. They are going to try and win this game on the back of Annihilate. Annihilate at the back-to-back Rage Fists. Pangoro, I believe, should still be able to Karate Chop down here as the Annihilate's Rage Fist picks up the KO. Pangoro throws a Night Slash. Oh no, they're not at 1 HP. They will survive it. It's going to end in a tie. Oh my goodness, what a close game. Great lead in the next match. Pangoro into Greninja. Opponent safe switches a Dusclops into Pangoro. Oh no. This is so unfortunate for the opponent. They are just completely core broken. Pangoro is going to have a great matchup into this Dusclops. Dusclops will get to return fire for some solid damage with Ice Punch. Ice Punch, not the strongest move ever, but Pangoro is very, very frail. Night Slash number 2 is going to connect. There's the boost from Pangoro, and that boost will probably allow it to Karate Chop down the Ghost type afterwards. Pangoro does get that Karate Chop down, exiting with a boosted Close Combat. In comes Gligar. Even a Gligar is not going to like this damage. Close Combat connects. Look out below. Pangoro on a rampage. In comes Slowking. Slowking will get to the Surf. This will knock out the Gligar. They're very, very low, so they're forced to put up a shield. Gligar can obviously threaten a KO of its own with a dig. Slowking thinking about no shielding. Shields at the last second and does get the shield call right. In comes Greninja. Greninja going to be answered with the Galarian Weezing. Greninja's Hydro Cannons hit very hard neutrally, but just not hard enough. The Fairy Winds do too much damage, and so will the Sludges. Sludge number 1 is going to get the shield from the Greninja. Greninja will be able to pressure shields now with Night Slashes, but even with Water Shuriken's amazing energy generation, they just cannot outpace. They need a third move that they cannot get to. Sludge KOs Greninja. In comes Gligar, quick switch to the Slowking, and the opponent will resign the match. Nightmare lead in the next match, Pangoro into Shadow Annihilate. The safe switch to Slowking, opponent going to answer with Furret. Very bad matchup for the Slowking, but obviously Acid will hit for neutral damage, and Surf will inflict some solid return fire as well. The opponent can probably knock out with a Swift here, I would imagine. Slowking doesn't have a massive amount of bulk. I stand corrected. I owe Slowking an apology. Slowking makes the final Surf, forces the shield from Furret, and now in comes Pangoro to get an incredibly aggressive farm down. Pangoro will be hit with the Swift. That is going to hit for some pretty significant damage. Pangoro looking to bank the energy when Annihilate hits the field and bring in the Weezing. In comes Weezing. Opponent does not switch out. They're going to fire off a Rage Fist in an attempt to get a shield. The shield does go up from the Weezing. That does desync the switch clocks. In the back is Drapion, and that's not what you're hoping to see as the Galarian Weezing. Drapion able to spam out Aqua Tails. Aqua Tail will hit for some pretty significant damage. Weezing is up a shield, which is exactly what it needs if it wants to have any chance in this game. This Sludge will not knock out, but the question is, does it potentially set up a Fairy Wind farm down? If Weezing gets the farm down, it wins the game on the spot. Weezing's gonna go for it. Can it get the farm down? No, it fails the farm down. The opponent hangs on 1 HP. Aqua Tail does not KO Pangoro. Undertaps trying to anticipate the snipe from the Annihilate, but the opponent makes the game-winning play of staying in with the Drapion. That's such a sick read from the opponent. Oh my goodness, what a terrific play from them. Very unfortunate for our battler, but if they switched in the Annihilate, then the Night Slash would have won Drew the game because it would have put it into Brutal Swing range. But making the call that would be undertapped, they stay in and they clutch a win. Awful lead in the next match, Pangoro fully walled by Azumarill. The safe switch Slowking answered with a Shadow Sableye, farming up to the Shadow Ball, opting for a Surf Bait. Shadow Sableyes love to shield, but this one calls the bait. What a call from the opponent. And now Slowking unfortunately does not get the shield advantage it was so desperately hoping for. In comes Pangoro. Pangoro is going to make the Night Slash on charge stack priority, denying the opponent's Dazzling Gleam unless they shield. And shield they will. Pangoro now with a tough decision to make. Pangoro is going to shield and Karate Chop down. The opponent has other ideas. They pivot. Oh my goodness. They pivot into Annihilate, and they are triple weak to Galarian Weezing. Brutal Swing is going to connect, dealing some very nice damage. Annihilate farms up quite a bit of energy. It looks like Annihilate can probably make a last second Rage Fist, so in order to prevent that, Weezing is going to be firing off the Brutal Swing. Opponent shields, and now their Azumarill has no shields to hide behind. I don't think that shield was the correct play from the opponent, as now, unless they get a catch, they have no way to get through this Weezing. They're going to bring in the Azumarill, and they can never catch if they're mid-bubble, so it's a very safe one Fairy Wind and the Sludge. Sludge lands, that's going to be big damage. There's a catch attempt. They do not get it. Sableye gets farmed down. Back in comes the Azumarill just to get absolutely crushed by Sludge. Despite an atrociously bad lead, this game is a win because the opponent, when team building, completely forgot about the existence of Galarian Weezing. We see a familiar face in the next match as Pangoro leads into Shadow Sableye. Shadow Sableye obviously has a lot of counterplay in this matchup as it can survive a Night Slash, and Dazzling Gleam hits for double super effective damage and will wipe Pangoro off the battlefield. Night Slash will land, it's a CMP tie. Opponent is highly likely to bait, but it's so risky to call it. There is the foul play bait coming out from the opponent. Pangoro immediately gonna grab that shield back with the Night Slash. Night Slash is gonna be shielded up by the Sableye, no boost coming through from the Pangoro. Pangoro looking to double shield. If this is the Dazzling Gleam, Pangoro should be able to farm down, but it's not. It's another foul play from the opponent. They're only going to get a foul play. This is double resisted, so it will not be enough to knock out. Pangoro able to hang on, get a full Karate Chop farm down. Opponent sends in a Azumarill. There's the pivot into Weezing. Weezing answered with a Skarmory. What is a Skarmory doing here? This is such an old team. A blast from the past from the opponent as they have a Steel Wing Skarmory. And these Steel Wings are shredding through the poor Weezing. Weezing is just getting deleted by this Skarmory. Oh my goodness. I think Skarmory is getting the full farm down. I don't think Weezing will get this final move. The Brutal Swing lands. No, it does not get there. And this is a huge problem because now the Skarmory can just Brave Bird everything. In comes Pangoro firing off the Night Slash, but they catch onto the Azumarill. That is devastating. Slowking is going to now hit the field. Slowking should be in an okay spot against the Azumarill, but the Skarmory still has all that energy banked. Slowking farming up as much as it dares, going for the Shadow Ball, but Shadow Ball will not be enough to KO the Azumarill. Azumarill will be able to survive. Slowking desperately needs a farm down and to try and exit with a move, but the issue is the switch timer's up. In comes the Skarmory right on cue, and the fact that they caught earlier desynced the timers, allowing them to snipe that down. Pangoro has the back-to-back Night Slashes, but I don't believe it survives the Steel Wing. Night Slash gets the shield, but the second Night Slash, unfortunately, will not be reached. Familiar lead in the next match, Pangoro into Fortress. This time it is the Shadow Fortress. The last Fortress called the bait here. Will this Fortress do the same? No, they will not. They shield up the Night Slash. No boost from the Pangoro. Even a Sand Tomb would do a lot of damage, so Pangoro is going to shield and make it to the close combat. Will the opponent double shield? Honestly, Fortress players, myself included, love to double shield Fortress, so they will double shield, and in comes Slowking. Slowking farming up, opponent gonna send in a Shadow Sableye. Shadow Sableye not gonna be a big fan of this Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball into the Sableye is gonna land. Sableye now into the red health. Sableye does not get the farm down. It looks like Slowking would have survived to make the surf, so they're forced to fire off the foul play to pick up the KO. In comes Pangoro. Pangoro not going to get farmed down. The opponent forced to fire out the foul play. Pangoro going to shield. Pangoro wants the close combat. Will have the close combat banked. What is the opponent going to bring in here? Is it going to be the Fortress? It is the Fortress, but the Bug Bite does not KO. Pangoro hangs on. Close combat picks up the KO. In the back, oh no, it's Jellicent. And even though Weezing has Brutal Swing, 2 Brutal Swings will not knock out. Brutal Swing does not get same type attack bonus, whereas the Jellicent can go for double Surf, and 2 Surfs will actually KO. So unfortunately, this game will end in a loss. The Pangoro is just too low. Surf picks up the KO. Pangoro gets farmed down, and unfortunately, that is game over. Hopping into the final match, great lead, Pangoro into Morpeko, there's a safe switch into a Shadow Jump Pluff, and in comes Acid Galarian Slowking. Slowking just going straight for the Shadow Ball, looking to guarantee some damage, but we do see a shield come out from the Jump Pluff. Slowking, taking basically no damage from the Fairy Winds, puts up the shield. The opponent threw an Energy Ball at a Slowking. People just don't know what this is or what typing this is. This is 2800's gameplay, but people just don't know what a Slowking is, and I can't blame them. Slowking now going to be hit with the Aerial Ace. That's going to get Slowking very low. Slowking aiming for the Acid Farm down, but just cannot get there. Forced to fire off the Surf. Slowking does exit with a Surf loaded, which is quite nice. And Surf will do a lot of damage to the Morpeko. Morpeko, not known for its tankiness, Surf connects, and that is a significant amount of health lost. In comes the Pangoro. Pangoro has to respect the electric type Aura Wheel, as that would probably just cleanly one-shot the Pangoro. So Pangoro now going to be down a shield for the end game, but it's going to be Blastoise, and Pangoro can just start smacking Blastoise with close combats. Actually opting for a bait here. The bait is called. That is a little tough. Now that Pangoro has had a bait called, should still be in the driver's seat here, but ideally you would love to get the close combat, and I don't know what the opponent's farming to. They just keep farming, they get nuked with a close combat, and Pangoro is able to take the win. All in all, these were some very fun battles, so many thanks for sending them in. I did really enjoy Galarian Slowking finally having a decent fast move. I do think that for Galarian Slowking to see actual meta relevance, now what it needs is a true bait move. Surf, even with the really nice energy generation of Acid, Surf is just too expensive. A 50 energy bait move is not particularly viable. Taking a look across the other moves that it learns a ton of nuke moves. Sludge Wave, Future Sight, Scald, Shadow Ball, and then Surf as its cheapest. It would be really nice if it got like a 35 energy move, something that it could kind of spam out. Then I think it could potentially see some like fun anti-meta play. For now, it's definitely a pick for fun, not a pick for climbing. It's absolutely improved by the addition of Acid, as non-stab Hex is exceedingly mediocre because even though it has good energy generation, it just never does any damage. Whereas Acid is a far more balanced fast move. So it's a really nice step in the right direction for Galarian Slowking, but it's going to need a cheaper bait move if it wants to see future relevance. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.